Hi guys, this is Mick with Bushcraft. I'm just out and about today scouting out some forest area. I've already seen some probably raccoon, maybe skunk tracks near a stream. I know there's deer up here. I've spooked them a couple of times, not this trip, but in the past. Something I wanted to mention to you guys though, while I am completely happy to do the bushcraft, Boy Scout, camping, survival, primitive skills thing here on these videos, I was wondering if there was a way that I could inject something more beautiful or poetic or something like that into this effort. Here's the thing, when I look at outdoorsmen and the posts and the photos, I think a lot of outdoorsmen have a heart of a poet. They see the beauty around them, and maybe they just don't have the vocabulary. You know, I know a lot of times I don't have the vocabulary to say what it is that I want to say about the beauty and the majesty and the silence and the things that touch me about being out here. So what I'm going to try to do, and it's an experiment and it may not work because I'm not much of a poet. What I'm going to try to do is be a little more artistic or a little more poetic or spiritual or whatever you want to call it. You know, hippy dippy, I don't care, about some of these videos. And I hope you enjoy it and I hope you get something out of it. We've talked about this several times. As you're out walking around, look for resources that you can use. And this is one of the best ones, this pine resin that's been, there's an injury to this tree and the resin has been seeping, and that resin is good for various purposes. The main one that I think of when it's cold for sure is a fire starter. This stuff will burn very well. It'll extend your tinder bundle and it'll burn very black though, so you may be giving away your position, and that might be a good thing if you're lost and you want to be found. This stuff will burn very black. This is a little of an unusual find, but let me show you what I found. See this? Old man turtle came up the hill and never came down. There's a river over that way. And every now and then you'll see these turtles that are way up away from the river, way up these hills. And you wonder what they're doing and where they're going. But this guy, he didn't make it. So, very, very interesting though, pattern. There's a whole circle of life going on around us that we've separated ourselves from a little bit. Those of us who are outdoors people or hunters or other kinds of people that are more into the primitive way of looking at life see this more clearly for what it is. But most of us, if we think about it, most of our day-to-day existence is far separated from this kind of life or death. And for a very long time, humans were much closer to this kind of a lifestyle than they are now. And they were just as poetic about the beauty and the ferocity of the wild, perhaps, as we are today. But I think we see it not for what it is, but for what we want it to be. This is what it is. We've chosen to live our hardships a different way most of the time. This is the real hardship kind of lifestyle that I think a lot of us, me especially, I put that aside. I don't really think about this kind of a hardship when I'm out in the woods. I think about being free and Daniel Boone and living off the land and all that stuff, and that's all cool and true and can be done. But this kind of lifestyle that we have chosen, those of you who are watching this video, we have to be aware that Old Man Turtle is teaching us a lesson here. There's beauty and there's wonderfulness out here, and there's also harshness for those who are not prepared. You know, a lot of times we talk about where you make camp. Look for widowmakers, look around for things that would make your campsite unsafe. Another thing to consider is a depression like this. See, I would have thought, well, for an emergency survival camp, I could be up against this root ball here. I could build myself a fire. I've already got a part of a wall built for me for a survival shelter. But if it had rained during the night and filled this in, it would have been no different than camping in the flood zone of a stream. So beware of the drainage if you pick an emergency bivouac or an emergency expedient campsite. Beware of the drainage in that area, because it may not be a good choice after all. This is the wisdom tree. This big, sturdy, healthy, otherwise healthy pine tree has collapsed across the river, and you can see that the bank gave way on the other side, and this now is a perfect way to cross the river if you're a raccoon or a skunk or a squirrel or a chipmunk or a unwise human. You see, I call this the wisdom tree because 20 years ago I would have jumped on that tree and been across to the other side and not even really thought twice about it. But now I'm old and pitiful and feeble, and I'm just going to show you this tree, and I'm not going to do anything stupid because I don't want to go swimming today.
Good luck. It wasn't that far. No, we definitely walked like 4 miles. Oh, I feel it shaking. Oh my gosh.
You guys are my wildlife photography for the day.
Oh yeah.
I was hoping somebody would come across that thing.
That was awesome.
Nobody wanted to go swimming, huh?
No, not today.
Okay.
Too close to that. You have a good day.
You too. All right, if you want to know about how high you should be off the river when you make camp, you can see all of this behind me. This white sand is all silt deposited by the river behind me. And I'm at least 12 to 15 feet above the river right here where I'm standing, where all this was deposited. So use that as your guide if you're going to be making camp by a river.